Super Rugby Round 2, first and only game on the Friday is the Highlanders up against the Reds. It's an interesting one because the Reds haven't played yet. We do not know where they're at. 0 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. First game of the season. The Highlanders started off pretty well with an away win. That's their one win, in case you don't know what those numbers mean. Their one win last week over the Chiefs away from home was a very well fought win. The fact that they did it with a man down towards the end of the game. I believe that red card's also been rescinded, so they were pretty hard done by in that one. Perhaps you're not allowed to put hard hits onto All Blacks anymore in World Cup year. Anyway, it's got the look of a pretty interesting game, although the prediction is for it to be pretty one-sided. I'll have a look at the squads. There's a fair few changes for the Highlanders, and for the Reds a couple of new names. So, I mean, the familiar faces there for the Highlanders from last week. You still got Ben Smith starting at fullback. Rob Thompson continues on in the midfield, but this time you've got Tay Walden pairing him, so he's in at 12. Waisake Naholo comes onto the right wing. Still Tavita Lee on the left. But that's a pretty nice looking midfield and outside backs set. Josh Ioane continues at 10. He was very steady last week, so yeah, he ran the ship well. No reason he wouldn't do the same this week. Aaron Smith's inside him. We saw the impact that guy had when he came off the bench against the Chiefs. So yeah, it's an interesting one because no disrespect to the Reds, but the Reds are playing a really young team, and the Highlanders are putting out some big guns. Like, we know they have to rest players this season for kind of All Blacks duties. This perhaps could have been a game to... I know it's maybe too early on in the season to be playing around with your combinations and whatnot, but I suppose they just want to get their home campaign off to a good start. They want to get some fans through the gates, so they want to play as many big guns as possible. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps they're just not underestimating the Reds, and perhaps I am. But yeah, I mean, you got Dylan Hunt at 7. Shannon Frizzell, another guy who came off the bench last week and put in a big impact. He's at 6. Whitelock co-captains for number 8. So there's a lot of All Blacks in this lineup. Front row is unchanged of Lomax, Coltman, and Johnston. Dixon and Hemopo are in the second row. Marty Banks comes in on the bench, so he is definitely a crowd favourite down there in Dunedin. So expect the crowd to get off their feet when he comes on. Bryn Gatland not good enough to make the squad this week. I'm not sure if he's injured or if he's just not selected. Faddis is relegated to the bench with Naholo coming into the lineup. So man, it's a very good looking Highlanders team. There's a bit of inexperience on the bench, but some depth as well. I mean, look, Marty Banks, Ash Dixon, so Dan Leonard-Brown, all pretty seasoned guys there. For the Reds, I mean, it's a fairly familiar lineup from last year. Brad Thorne culled what he seemed to think is the trash from his squad, and he's brought through young guys he thinks can do a job. He's got their buy-in, seemingly, and anyone who doesn't buy into his system just gets the chop. So we'll see how much that pays off. Bryce Hegarty is one of the new names. He's come over from the Tars. He starts at 15. Stefan Naivalu is on the left wing. He's come over from the Rebels. And Fiao Fotuaika is a loose head prop. I believe it's his Super Rugby debut. So he's supposed to be a bit of a big unit. We'll see how well he holds up against Tyrell Lomax, because he's a pretty useful player as well. But yeah, good on him for getting his debut. Apparently he's got a pretty cool little story of kind of being a bit overweight and getting into rugby, and yeah, good on him. Hopefully he has a good game. Some Wallabies here and some depth. Paying Amosas at 2 and Tupos at 3. Last season that Reds scrum was really strong. We'll see if the addition of this new prop kind of makes any differences there, or if it's going to be at those same kind of high standards. Rodda, and I'm not sure what I should call him. Should I keep calling him Lukan Tui, because his new name change, so it's Lukan Salakia Loto. It's a fair few more syllables for me, but out of respect, I probably should call him his new name. So Salakia Loto in the second row, both Wallabies, young, so can add a bit of punch. Liam Wright, Angus Scott Young, and Caleb Timu are in the back row, and I actually think that's fairly useful. You know, Liam Wright proved himself a fairly useful fetcher. We all know how good Australia is at producing sevens, so see how he gets on. Caleb Timu last year at Super Rugby level was a pretty devastating ball carrier. He wasn't able to kind of carry that form over when he hit the international scene, but he's another guy who's still developing well. Bit of concern perhaps if you're a Reds fan at 9 and 10, Moses Sorovi and Hamish Stewart, fairly inexperienced guys to be commanding that back line. I'm still not sold on Hamish Stewart, but the only way the guy's going to get better if he plays, and he's not playing a Bowden Barrett, he's not playing, you know, Andre Pollard, he's playing Josh Ioane, and no disrespect to Josh, but he's another kind of fairly newcomer to be leading a side, so I suppose if you're going to do it, maybe this is the time to be doing it. Karevi's outside him, so that's good. Jordan Pataya, very good, and Fiowai Satia is relegated to the wing, at least he gets a start. Usually we see him in the midfield, but he's equally adept to playing on the wing, so I don't think this Reds side's as bad as what people are making it out to be, but equally with the Reds last year, they would either play well or they would get a hiding. So it remains to be seen where they're at. Last year, it was over in Queensland, and it was Highlanders 18, Reds 15, so it was a close game. And the Reds had a couple of games where they pushed some New Zealand teams. But the bookies have got the Highlanders by 21 points. So they're saying it's going to be a wee bit of a massacre. In Dunedin, the Highlanders are very tough to play at home, and that's a lot of All Blacks in that team. So it's a pretty safe bet that the Highlanders are going to run away with this one, but let's hope in terms of entertainment value and just for the quality of Super Rugby that the Reds are able to make it a wee bit competitive. Hopefully it's an entertaining game under the roof there. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you think it's going to go? What are your predictions? And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.